Right. All right. So we're going to actually make this meeting go live now. It's 3:59, so it should click over to 4 o'clock at any minute. So just know that it is being recorded and we are going live right now. All right. So we're going to act. Boom. Okay. Now that's on. Let's go back to the Zoom meeting. Got it. And we'll go back to record. All right. I'm going to start letting everybody in. And then we'll just walk through the steps here. Welcome, everybody. Everybody just getting in. Thank you for joining. Looks like we got about 8 or 10 people so far, and then more people will be joining on the live cast. And everybody except for George should have their microphones muted. George is our guest, and we're going to get started right here, right now. So welcome to Locksmith Live. This is Locksmith Live with Wayne, and my special guest today is George Hill from Keedex. Keedex makes a ludicrous amount of tools that we probably all use in our day-to-day lives. Their products are absolute staple marks in the locksmith industry and in the safe cracking industry as well. So with that, welcome, George. Please explain a little bit about yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Keedex has been around about 45 years now. I've been a loyal member 50 years. Started as a collecting locks when I was around 10 years old. That's a whole other story, but started that, got out of high school and opened up a locksmith shop in Orange County, California. And through the years, we found products that we needed for our customers. So we developed these products for our customers and realized that, hey, if it's good enough for our customers, we should create those for locksmiths to also use in their day-to-day locksmithing. So that's how Keedex started. Really started with some car servicing products, and then it went on to storefront doors and safe products and so on. But we eventually sold that business after 31 years, and now I do Keedex full time.
Yeah, cool. What was one of the first products that you came up with?
Well, one of the first products we came up with was actually a clip removing tool. Now, this is way before your time. Normally, the cylinder was not in the handle of the lock like it is today, where if you do use a key, typically the cylinder that you insert a key into is actually integrated with the handle itself.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be off to the side. Well, like to make GM keys and so on, you had to actually disassemble the lock to make the key for it. So we made a tool that would go in and attach itself to the clip, and you could work the clip off without jerking around inside the door panel, which was very sharp, and sometimes you couldn't get a lot of leverage in there because it was difficult to do that. So it was a tool that started Keedex, but we've discontinued that. It's no longer available because cars changed over the years.
Yeah, that tends to happen, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So one of the more exciting things that I know that happened is that big poster right behind you. Can you tell us a little bit about the Italian Job movie and how did you become a part of it? How did they contact you? Like, just from the very beginning, from the first initiated contact all the way up until, the movie's being filmed and they're at your location. Like, walk us through that process.
Well, actually, I was at a locksmith convention in hold on a second here. I'm sorry. Okay. I was in a locksmith convention in, I believe it was 2001. And it was either in Chicago or Las Vegas. And what they did is the set or the prop people actually went and approached Mark Miller from Lockmasters.
Mm-hmm.
And they approached him to see if they could use Harry Miller's collection. I'm sure you've seen it at the at Lockmasters. I don't know if you've ever been
Yes.
to Lockmasters.
Yes.
Harry
Beautiful.
has one of the most extensive collections of time locks and safe locks probably in the world. And
I
so
have been there, and it is like walking into the museum of locksmiths and safe locks. It is I think we spent 3 hours there, and that's at a walking pace, walking by aisle after aisle after aisle of locks, safe locks, time locks, just all these different pieces there. It is overwhelming what is actually there.
yeah, and so they approached him and they were explaining, yeah, we would like to take a lot of the collection and haul it all the way to Los Angeles
No.
and use it on the set, and then haul it all the way back to Connecticut, and back to Lockmasters, and put it all back. And he just goes, "Oh, why don't you just use George Hill's collection?" And they're going, "George Hill?" It's like, who's that? And so he told them to go over to our booth, and so they introduced us, and I said, I probably have enough of this stuff that if you want to use it for a scene in the movie, we can do that, and it's only a 30-minute drive from our museum to where the location was at. So that's how it started. And so they ended up coming out with a truck and 5 guys, and they started taking, they probably took about 100 mounted locks. They took my whole safe and time lock collection, which is a big portable display that has all the time locks and mounted locks all in one big case. And they took that. They took, like, say, a whole truckload. It took all day for them to come and get the collection. So the scene that they depicted was Charlize Theron as a technician that had a business in Philadelphia, and during that she was actually opening safes, apparently for the police department, and that's one of the scenes. But her actual office was in Philadelphia, and that's where the collection was put in, and so that whole office scene that is in the movie they set up, but it was actually downtown Los Angeles on 5th Street is where the actual set was, but they depicted being in Philadelphia, and they had a Philadelphia police car out front. They had vehicles with that state's license plates on them and stuff like that. They actually stripped the trees on 5th Street. They actually stripped the trees on 5th Street and put down leaves in the street, so it would depict that it was in fall, but actually it was filmed in spring.
Right.
And they had probably about 50 extras, and they were all wearing like heavy coats and hats and stuff like that. It was probably a 75-degree day, so there was no reason to do that. But it's amazing how much they put into this thing, and you didn't see probably one extra. If anything, maybe a glance at an extra. But they had an incredible. Her office was completely set up, just amazing. They probably spent, I don't know, $400,000 on just setting up for that scene, and
Wow.
only about 5% of the collection, all the displays and everything were seen. I mean, less than 5%. They didn't show hardly anything of my collection. But what was interesting though is Harry Miller's collection actually got in the movie more than my collection. And you're going, how did that happen? Well, some of the pictures that you see on the wall are the pictures of Harry Miller's collection that I have that was done by a company called Kodak, because they were in Rochester the same year that Sergeant Greenleaf was in Rochester. And I have about 200 pictures of Harry Miller's collection. And they saw that, they went through it and took about 20 pictures out of my book. And they enlarged them and put them in frames and put them in the movie. So for example, here's a picture of her, Shirley's, and right next to her, you'll see a Model 1.
Yeah.
That's a Model 1 Sergeant Greenleaf lock. Well, during the scene, you actually saw quite a few of these that were hanging up in the background of her office. And so Harry's collection actually did get into the movie more than my stuff.
Yeah. So now, were you involved? So they didn't actually film at your location. It was your collection at an alternate location. That's what happened.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They came out with a big truck and they hauled, they went through the museum and then hauled all the stuff down there and set it up. But it was an amazing set. They, like I said, they spent a lot of money, and it's a shame. They didn't allow us to take any photographs of the set. And I wish I could have, because it was just incredible, the amount of hours they put in displays. They had glass displays set up. Just, I mean, it was just incredible. They brought in a bank of safes that probably weighed about 4 tons.
Wow.
And I can't imagine how much the Union, how much it would cost them to take it from wherever to that office and set it up, and you never saw any of that. It's just and another thing, this Model 2 is actually upside down if you look at it.
Right.
Yeah, so a lot of the pictures were kind of upside down. They didn't have any kind of real technical, they didn't use us as a technical assistant in it. They probably had some other people to show them about some of the safe, products and stuff like that, how to use them.
Right.
They didn't use us in that application.
Right. That's great. I mean, just how cool is it that your collection actually made it in Hollywood? Like, it actually made it, and that was a huge movie, and that was a blockbuster. Everybody has heard of that movie. Everybody I've ever talked to has heard of that movie. So that's really
it actually was used in a couple of TV series. There was one, it was called Mike Hammer, Private Investigator, back in the 80s. And it was used in a couple other sets, but nothing, you'd probably never heard or anything like that. But the lock that Mark Wahlberg was holding in one of the scenes was this lock. And they show him turning the dial of it and so on. So he's actually holding this lock in one of the scenes. And what's interesting is this is not a safe lock. It's a shut off for a truck, and it shuts the gasoline off from the engine. This would be mounted on the dash. You dial the combination, pull on this knob, and then allows the fuel to flow. And then when you want to lock the vehicle up, you push in and turn the dial. So it's kind of interesting here. It's supposed to be about safes, but this wasn't a safe lock.
Oh no! So that's crazy. Like the first anti-theft device, right?
Yeah. It's like for a fleet of trucks or something like that, so they wouldn't steal the trucks.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So the lock that they're portraying as an example when they're talking about and explaining it isn't even a safe lock at all.
Yeah, he was just
that's Hollywood. Yeah, that's Hollywood for you. They don't know. Now that brings me to my other question. Were you ever asked to provide like when that movie came out, and actually when that was right, it was a little bit later. It was about 10. Well, it was what, 2012. I don't remember exactly when the movie came out, but 2012 was
2000. It was 2003 when it actually came out.
2003 when it came out. So it had already been about a decade when the movie was out. And the guy that was training me actually said, "Hey, have you seen The Italian Job? That's one of the most somewhat accurate in theory, like bits of pieces that safecracking has been exposed to the Hollywood or mainstream world." Meaning they are implying that she understands and is good at the art of manipulation, which is listening and hearing different sounds and different things inside the lock itself. On top of that, that was right around when they started putting glass plates in the ISM safes, the ones that come from overseas. That was a new high security feature. They realized that we had diamonds now, there's no barrier material that can keep us out of the safe. So why not reinvent the game and say, okay, fine, poke a hole in there. You can poke it in there really easy. We're not going to make it that hard for you. But you're going to poke this little piece of glass. It's going to shatter. And then relock devices that are remote mounted and constantly changed are going to be mounted all over the safe. Mm-hmm. So where did they get that information from? How did they know that?
Well, they were using like strong arm. If you looked at it, they had a strong arm rig set up. They also had quite a few optical devices for looking inside safes. So I'm sure that they had somebody, I don't know exactly who they used for that kind of technical direction. For some reason, they didn't use us. I don't know. They just used us for the prop. We didn't donate the use of the collection. We actually charged them for using the collection. So we're not listed in the credits. So maybe somebody, wanted to, get in the credits. I didn't really look at the, who looks at the credits to see,
right.
All that.
Yeah.
So we actually charged them for using the collection.
Okay. So maybe they got it through. I know Dave McOmie gets hit up all the time for movie advice. Heck, he's actually got a special out with Vanity Fair where he kind of helps debunk some of the safe myths. Because I mean, you're a professional safecracker. You see some of the stuff that you see on TV, and you were like, that is not even close. Or you're like, hey, that's actually pretty close, and maybe that shouldn't be in there,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, surely she's drilling off to the side with that big, and it's like
there's
it's not in a critical spot. And it's interesting. Most of your jewelry safes now have a manipulation resistant lock on it. You're not going to be putting a grade 2 lock on a real high security vault type. Something holding $20 million or whatever in gold.
Right. And the biggest error, the biggest non-truth, or the biggest error that they put in that movie is when they're drilling through, even though it's in the wrong spot, and B, they wanted this intense moment where it touches the glass and it kind of starts to crack a little bit, but doesn't actually fire all the way off. Yeah. Absolutely pure and complete horse poo. That is not going to happen.
As soon as you ever hit the glass, you know it.
Yeah.
That thing just explodes.
Yeah, it's not a good sound.
It's not a good thing unless you
no. And I mean,
unless you went around and grabbed the cables and you've got it set so that it's coming.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. If you have them all, restrained or pinned off so that they can't fire, that you can pull the cords and retract them or whatever, then that would be okay. And sometimes that happens. But really, as far as the actual drilling equipment used, they use real strong arm equipment. They use real actual stuff. And
I mean, the borescopes and stuff, they're all the real deal. Everything.
It's just that concept wouldn't have applied. It would have been if any professional safe technician was attacking that job, they would be, side drilling or getting some kind
Right.
of change key hole scope or something like that, and wouldn't be going through the front at all as soon as we identified that it had glass. But it would still be pretty believable in 2003 that glass was kind of a newer function and a new arrival to the security field.
Well, it actually was been around for quite a while over in South Africa and Europe, more
Right.
than in the United States.
Right, but they always get that stuff first. We're the last
Yeah,
ones. Our high security containers are referred to as tin cans compared to the
yeah.
UK stuff. But yeah, it has been used in it a lot, just not so much over here. So that people wouldn't be that familiar with it. So yeah, man, that's really cool. That's just awesome that you got to be a part of it. That's awesome that they give you that poster.
No, actually, no. I had to get that off the internet.
You get it? Yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't get to see Shirley's or Mark. They offered to they said if they were around, I could be introduced to them, but unfortunately, they weren't around. It was the day it was they would do different shoots, and at that particular point they weren't available. We were like during a lunch break when we went there.
Mm-hmm.
So
What was the
yeah.
set like? What can you describe that a little bit?
Well, it was like I say on Fifth Street in downtown LA,
Mm-hmm.
and they had like Herculite doors coming into it. I mean, not your typical lock shop.
Right.
They even had like keypad set up on the outside that was non-functional, but they had like an IEI keypad. They went into a lot of detail in the actual her office. I there was no sign on the front of it, so it didn't say whatever lock
Shop.
company.
Right.
Lock shop, but it wasn't set up like a typical lock shop would have been. They had a dispatcher when you first came in. She was in her fancy desk, and she was like a dispatcher, which you wouldn't really see that in a typical lock shop. You would probably get a typical technician maybe to greet you. So it was a pretty, like I say, they probably spent north of $400,000 on setting up that office of hers.
Wow.
And they probably, it was what, 5 minutes, 7 minutes of the show.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of money for a few minutes, but that's how they, that's what happens.
Yeah. So did you get any kind of did you get any kind of boost in business from that? Like, were you able to utilize that and capitalize that in any way, or was it just something kind of fun that you were able to do?
Not really, because we weren't in the credits and stuff. And there again, they really didn't show a lot of the collection. It was something that our customers knew about, and but it really wasn't some kind of thing that we used to advertise. To get work business from our company, our lock company. We stressed on return business, meaning commercial business. About 90% of our customers were like California Fortune 100 companies or 500 companies.
Right.
And we went out. We had outside salespeople that actually would go out and knock on doors, that kind of thing. So we had the smallest ad, and we had just in the yellow pages, which back then the yellow pages were a big deal. We probably had just a little tiny line, the free line, the yellow pages.
Right.
So, but California has changed so much. It's, a lot of those companies are gone. I don't know what we sold the company about 15 years ago, and they're still doing well, but
Yeah.
It sure has changed over the years.
Right. So what other products do you have, and tell us a little bit about Keedex, and tell us a little bit about what like the company business model is about. Like, help us understand, what does Keedex stand for? Why do you invent the products that you have? And what is your motivation behind that? And what are some of your favorite products?
Well, the motivation, it was we found niches in the industry. We'd have customers that had a break-in, for example, and so that's why we came out with the Style Guard series of products that would go on aluminum frame glass doors to strengthen the door around where the lock actually locks into.
Is that on your website here?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Well, it's called a Style Guard. It's under door products.
Products.
They're showing some of my collection there.
Yeah.
You're seeing right there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the homepage. So it's under products.
Yeah, and then under the door products, that right there, it probably should go to. We make armored door loops. Our company did a lot of access control. They're right there. Those are the
there we go.
Style Guards. They're called.
Yeah. Yep. I remember seeing those. And then this is one of my favorite products of yours. This is a stock on the truck at all times, the hardened cylinder guards. How did you come up with this idea?
That's a whole interesting story. I don't know if you got a little time there, but there was a company called American Security Products, or I should say, they were a wholesale American Lock and Supply, I should say, in Anaheim, and they were the largest distributor of security products in the United States. They were a juggernaut. They were the number one company that would sell products like for Keedex.
Mm-hmm.
And so his brother, there was a little conflict between the owner of American Lock, Jim DeForest, and Bill DeForest. His brother had Major Lock and Supply, and they split off and they had the two companies. Well, Jim DeForest, he invented the cylinder guard and sold it under Major Manufacturing. You're familiar with Major Manufacturing?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, so back in the day, they had books on inventory for locksmiths. There was no computers back then. You couldn't go online and check to see what people had in inventory. What they would do is they would send a book out quarterly, and you could see what they had in inventory. So you could go, gosh, it looks like they have quite a few of these panic devices in, so I could probably miss the price of it. So I could quote it, and they probably have it so that my quote would go through pretty good because it's something they had in inventory. Well, if you went to American Lock and look up cylinder guards, they had no inventory because of the conflict between the two brothers.
Right.
But you go to the Clark Security book, and they had like 300 or 400 of the cylinder guards, which they were one of our second largest distributors at that time. So I'm looking at it, I'm going, well, gosh, if I make up a pretty good size quantity, whatever the quantity is, several thousand of them I have to do to get this thing going, I know at least I can sell them to American Lock and Supply.
Right. You've got one buyer.
That way, if I could just sell it to them, then it gets me my foot in the door. And then we actually redesigned it so it takes that little spacer.
Yeah.
And so it actually works with more cylinders than the Major product. So
that's right here.
That's how we got into the cylinder guard business.
Yeah.
And
I love these things. The powder coating or whatever coating is on them lasts longer than the cylinder usually. And like you said, you made it kind of stackable. So, hey, you can have the cylinder guard at a standard back set. You can also add the extender washer and the tension washer as well to create a little bit of space in between there. So it's not floppy and janky and jangly, but it compacts and works with inch and. Well, it
goes from a 7/8 on up to an inch and an eighth.
Right.
And then if you have a larger cylinder that inch and a quarter to inch and 3/8, you have to use the larger model.
Right.
Which there again, that has that spacer, so you can go from the inch and a quarter to inch and 3/8.
Now, the whole concept behind this product, just in case there's anybody out there that doesn't know, I sell this, and it's mandatory when I sell this with any high security locker product. Here's why, especially in storefront application. If somebody comes up, if I sell somebody a very expensive ASA Twin 6000, whatever, Medico, Multi-Lock, pick your favorite high security system, Primus, whatever, and you put that on the door, that's great. They probably won't be able to pick the lock. Yes, I know there's a bunch of different YouTube videos, and that's a whole separate conversation where, yes, high security locks have been picked on film. I agree. That was also in the possession of that person, that specified lock picker, for weeks and months on end, and they have the ability to take it apart, add pieces back together piece by piece, add one pin and pick it, add another one and pick it until they can muscle memory pick that lock. Yes, that does happen. Can most of these lock pickers go out in the field and actually bypass a Medico, a Twin 6000, a Primus? Probably not. Probably not in a real timely manner anyways. Same for drill resistance. They have nasty things in there. Medico is pretty notorious for having anti-drill plate and anti-drill protection. The other way you could do it is you can put a vice grip, or you can put a cylinder removal tool on here, and you grab the cylinder and you literally just force it out of there. That's what it's called, is a cylinder force tool, or vice grips for that matter. The cheaper version of that. And you literally just back the cylinder out, and sometimes it actually catches the cam and unlocks it as you're screwing it out, or it gets out of the way and you use an O-ring puller and you retract the latch or bolt and you get into the location. Your product is hardened steel. So when the hardened steel jaws of those removal tools or force tools, they don't get a bite in the actual ring, so that it doesn't allow that to happen. And then even if it does, the ring will spin independently of the lock. So you can't actually get the lock to spin out. You just spin that ring over and over and over again. Is there anything else that you have from your end that aids or that I missed with that security description and as to what
that's a very good description. And being hardened, they just, like I say, they can't crush it. They can't sit there and try to really clamp down on it. It's not going to crush.
Right, exactly. So these, everybody out there, if you install high security locks, these are a mandatory must do. You're doing your customer a disservice and you're leaving them exposed to vulnerabilities. Yes, you addressed, great, congratulations. You're off, the most common keyway in the world, Quickset or Schlage, SC1, SC4 keyways. Great job on that. Good job. Now it's time to actually protect, especially if you've got electronic access and you have key override. The key may not get used that much, but the key is still definitely a weakness, and it's still one of those things that I'm really going to look for in my systems. I have a lot of customers that request a key switch because they just feel better knowing they can turn the system on or off with a physical key. Works great for mag locks, works great for a bunch of other examples, but people still do want a physical key. And I tell them, you just invested almost $5,000, $4,000 or $5,000 in this electronic access system for one door. It's probably worth it to go ahead and go high security on the cylinder and high security on the cylinder ring to go with that.
Yeah. So also the Style Guard series, if you have a rash of burglaries on a particular, let's say a strip mall or something like that, a little strip center, you can show, hey, they broke into the liquor store next door, and this is what we put on to prevent that from happening. And so those are also a pretty easy upsell sometimes, is the Style Guard that actually goes around the aluminum frame glass area, and so now you're locking it into steel instead of aluminum, which can be easily bypassed. But so those are kind of an easy upgrade sometimes too.
These guys right here, yeah, definitely the K20. And then another one of my favorites that I like to carry on the truck is, how many times have we been to jobs and locations, and what's broke on the door, on the neutral leaf of the door? Flush bolts. Why? Because they're made out of plastic. For some reason, somebody at the aluminum door manufacturing facility thought, I got a great idea. We're going to save money. we're going to make this part that is the actual security in the door out of plastic. That's going to be an awesome concept. Well, it turns out it's not. They get broken all the time. The guides get broken all the time. When the guide breaks, then the bolt spins up or down. Then it doesn't engage anymore. If you yank hard enough, it breaks the plastic and shears it in half. You have a steel alternative. So these are definitely a go-to must-have on the truck at all times. Tell us a little bit about these.
They used to have a 3-point locking system, and the actual door itself, when you turn the key, it actually locked top, bottom, and into the inactive door. They were pretty popular here in California, but there again, even those had plastic guides and those break. So this was designed to replace both the one that throws the rods, as well as for inactive doors when you're using flush bolts. So
yeah,
that's why it has two sides to it.
Oh, so I got you. So it's reversible
for one, and the other different back set.
Oh, see, I did not actually know that. I did not know that was the function of that it was designed to be.
Some of these products have been around for probably 30 years. And so it's funny that people don't know it's there.
Right. And that's the K17. So like I said, that's on the truck at all times. Lever opening tool. I mean, this thing pretty much revolutionized getting into hotel doors. That was probably one of the first big sweep, like mandatory. They just got so fed up with master key systems and constantly maintaining them, and the mechanical products that were designed for motels were just not user friendly. It was expensive to maintain. So once they switched over to card electronic access, well, now we don't have a key override. So how do we get in these rooms if we have a failed lock? And when the first electronic lock came out, my goodness, the failure was major. There was a lot of failures that happened with those first couple waves that come out, just like with anything.
It was funny that I was at an American Lock Supply trade show at Disneyland Hotel. And after the show, I was sitting at the bar with one of the reps, and I was explaining what a lever opening tool was. We didn't have it on display yet. I had a prototype, and I was explaining, hey, this is really kind of unique tool, and so on, and it goes into the door. Well, it went in one ear and out the other. The guy, he was a rep for Sergeant Locks, and sure enough, he had a hotel that was opening in a few weeks, and the whole hotel was completely booked. And these were like suites in Santa Monica on the ocean, and they were going to charge back him $500 a room for every lock that was failing. And he had like 3 on the 5th floor, and so he comes with his. He's like, George, can I borrow that tool you told me about? And so he was the first one that actually used it on a job site to open up electronic locks on a hotel.
Wow.
And so it was he would actually use the prototype before we actually went into production.
That's cool. We have one question online here that says CRL compatible. I'm guessing they're referring to your cylinder tools or your cylinder ring.
CRL. Okay, that's a company that makes a lot of glass products. And so, you're talking about the flush bolts?
Oh, is the flush? He can't talk to us online here. He's on the other YouTube thing here that's live. But so I guess he's referring to the flush bolt kit, since it's CRL doors.
Yeah, sometimes what happens on those is the rod itself, they actually push the plastic piece into the rod. Maybe that's why you can't unscrew the plastic. You can't unscrew it and use it. So you end up having to get a long go to a hardware store that would have a long threaded rod. They might have to replace the rod on it.
Yeah, you just have to. You don't have to replace anything fancy. You just go to a hardware store and get some all thread it out, and then thread your piece on and cut it to length and thread it. So it should. So to the people that are listening out there, should be adaptable to almost any door. But yeah, back to the lever opening tool here. I mean, this thing has just saved so many things. High security locks, Medico on a lever or something, really high end levers, really high end stuff that you don't want to try and drill or destroy, or you're picking on it for 15, 20 minutes and it's just not working. Okay, time to go get the lever tool, come up under the door. And then actually one of my specialized techniques that I do is I'll actually use an air wedge to help create a little more room sometimes. And I'll take my cell phone, since they're so thin, I'll take it out of the case. So it's just a raw phone, and I'll actually slide it up under there, and I'll turn the camera on, and I'll turn the flash or whatever on, or I'll have an additional light, because sometimes it's a closet. You can't see anything in there.
Yeah.
And I'll actually look up in there and see where it's going and actually hook it in that way. But the reason that really pays off is I was trying to do that to a janitor's closet once, and I must have hooked a mop or a broom or something as I was coming in, and then that was laid over across the door, and it wasn't working. I'm like, I can hear it. I know it's in the right spot. I had it all measured out, but then I stuck the phone under there and I see this broom or this handle blocking everything. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we had to flick that out of the way and then come back and then pull that down. And it still did work. Has never not worked. Every single time I have tried that tool, it worked.
One of the major tricks in that tool is actually you want to take and put the tool up against the outside lever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that way you can tell exactly where you need to put the tool in from the edge of the door. So you don't have to have like a camera inside looking at it. You already have a lever at the same height on the outside. So you put that on the outside first, and then you insert the tool. Another trick is to actually take and push the tool all the way in, especially if there's no return on the handle. A lot of times if it doesn't have a return, it'll slip off. But if you take and push the tool all the way in so that handle is actually touching the door, it pushes against the door more and has less chance of it kicking off and coming off the lever, especially if there is no return on it.
Right.
So
the hardest part is getting it lined up and then getting the cable taut enough at the right time to get back behind the lever so that it's actually engaged into there, and then bringing everything all down at once.
I actually almost got in trouble using it. At the time I was locksmithing, and we did the school district for Orange County. The school district was one of our customers. And so we got a call to come out and fix a door that it was like a closet door. It was written on the invoice. So I go see the lady, and she wheels me over to this one door, and I'm looking at it, and it's got a Medico cylinder in it. And I'm looking at it, it's like, okay, well, how am I going to open this? Well, it was a lever lock, but it also had a keypad on the wall. And so I'm like, this is kind of weird, So I go to the truck, get my lever tool, and I go over and I open it up, and I set off an alarm. And the security guards are coming, and they're like, what are you doing? And what it was the room where they kept the checks, and there was big rolls of unprinted checks. Was the print room for printing checks for the whole school district, for all the teachers in the whole school district.
You're getting in the money room.
Fortunately, I didn't get in trouble, but she did.
Oh, geez.
But they're going, how did you get in? And I didn't even show them the tool. I'm not gonna show them the tool back then. I just said I picked the lock. Right.
Man, that is crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I've had a few encounters too where you're doing your job and then law enforcement comes up and, hey buddy, what are you doing? That's why I'm a real a supporter of making sure that you're wearing a uniform. But every now and then you'll get a call when you're in your regular clothes on Sunday or something you weren't expecting working, but what the heck, you can make $200 and it's right down the road. Why not go do it? But if you're not in uniform, boy, that can sure cause some cause some discrepancies there. So that's good. I'm glad that you got that. Somebody asked me the replacement cable. So K22 is going to be the K22 K-22 cable is going to be the code for that. Just like you said, you can't buy it direct from Keedex, but just buy that from your favorite supplier as well.
Yeah, I shook up I was in Vegas one time and at a trade show, and I forgot that I didn't put that in my show box.
Uh-huh.
I brought it with me, and so I was walking through the lobby of a hotel in Vegas with one of those tools, and I got security kind of looking at me, and they go, "Oh yeah, there's a lock convention in town."
Oh,
And I'm
geez.
going, "Yeah, you know, I invented this," and they're going, "Yeah, we have a couple in the back."
That's
Yeah.
cool, man. That's really cool. So let's talk about some of your other products here. I'll just go over some of the ones that I just use. And if people know anything about me, I don't ever really advertise or bring up tools that I don't personally use. If I don't think it's an effective product, I'm not really going to mention it. I do like advertising. I do like working with companies. I do like getting the word out there about companies and their tools and products. But if I don't believe in it, it's probably not going to be seen on my channel. One of the biggest things that I'm a proponent of is being prepared. And your Keedex, that's not what is that? The KD18?
Yeah, the K18. Yeah.
Oh yeah, K18 right here, the change key set. I mean, I walk in knowing that I've got 90% of what I need right on here. The only exceptions that I've found for that is for some reason there's a lot of Lagarde double redundant locks here. And I don't know if that might be something you want to add to one of your packages at some point in time. But it's the double redundant where it has the electronic and the mechanical both. And that change key, it comes with the lock, but it's a little difficult to come by. And you can custom make it. But other than that, and that's a real weird, rare lock. But other than that, you've got the Sergeant Greenleaf, you've got the 3-wheel, 4-wheel, Lagardes, Moslers, Diebolds. How did you come up with this tool, and tell us a little bit about it?
Well, there again, just being in the industry and going out on service calls, it always seemed I didn't have the right key for some reason. On that change key set, you'll actually even have stuff that's kind of a little obsolete, but some of the S&G that actually has an S&G lever lock for like in-floor safes, which has been out of business for a long time, but you could reset the safe key for in-floor safes with that, that key was like, where do you buy one? I mean, it's like the lock is, I mean, you'd have to special order that, and people were like, oh my gosh, it has it on there. I mean, it's just, it also does the S&G padlock, for example.
Uh-huh.
So just having that, like you say, in your
arsenal,
your tool pouch is something that we actually took, and we would cut off the handles of the change keys and drill or raise on a little piece and then put it on a keychain. So that way you can't lose them. The problem is when you go to a job and you have a pouch or something like that, and you go and you're going, I'm looking for a Mosler change key, and it was like, it's always the one you can't find, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And so we had this setup where all of them were all chained together, and so my brother looked at it and goes, why don't we just put it in like an Allen wrench set? And so that's what it was my brother's idea.
That's cool. That's cool. Definitely one of those things that I use all the time. Another one, that safe transfer right here, like you were talking about, that allows you to, if you drill in the wrong spot, the laser manipulation tool is cool as well. But this, you know what I mean? If you're off a little bit and you drill in the wrong spot, the handing's wrong, or even if you're just a little off. And like you said, I had that the other day. I mean, I was there, I could see it. And there was another repair that was done. I actually had to re-drill one of my safes. So I figured, I'm not going to drill right where I put the Tapcon and the hardened all the hard and nasty stuff in there. I know what I put in there, and I don't want to tangle
Yeah.
with it. And
Well,
I'm looking up
especially,
over the horizon. I'm like, man, I just can't get. I must have dialed it 15 times. So finally, I was like,
yeah,
all right, we'll put this on here, and then
you have to scroll a little more further down to see the actual tool. It's right there.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. That was a device that I came up with because I drilled a hole in just in the wrong spot. And here I'm and it also nicked the wheels. And if you nick one of the wheels, it's like you're trying to, you can't turn the spindle and look down the hole without interrupting your vision, trying to look in there.
Yep.
And it was just like, got to be better thing in there than, and so they made emergency dials, small ones that would fit on it, but they're very small, and they weren't very accurate. So this makes it so there's a full size dial attached to your spindle away from the hole that you've created.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can turn it, even if you nicked a wheel, you can turn it without interrupting your line of sight, looking down the hole.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So really, really cool stuff. I mean, we can just go on and on and on with all the different products you have. The Moonlight there, we've done videos on that tool, the laser manipulation aid. I've done videos on that. That's actually in my safe manipulation class. We actually show that so that students can see it really magnified. And, with George and I actually got the chance to teach the manipulation class at IML together at one point in time, which was a really, really cool experience. And that was one of the times that we kind of got to hang out there. Of course, we've been to the Banner event, Aloha. We've just seen you all over the place. So I just thought you had a really interesting story. You have great products. I mean, the name's been around forever and ever and ever. And all these individuals, Phil from Freeman, Dave McComey, like all of these people have such great stories, and they don't really have a way to get it out. These stories come out at the bar or at the convention, but they don't come out in a way that people can rewatch it or be involved with it later. And so that's what I wanted to do here today. And I wanted to just kind of give you a platform to put that on. So do you have anything else that you'd like us to know about Keedex, the business, or you, or just anything else at all that you'd like the audience to know?
Oh, well, we're a small company. Obviously, we're under 10 employees, and we try to keep it that way. But here in California, we're having a little more trouble getting supplies, and also prices here in California. Having anything made is being prohibitive a little bit. We're trying to get vendors outside of California a little more. But it used to be very competitive market around here, but since COVID and stuff, it's a lot of the companies that we used to deal with have either sold or moved on, and so we're having our supply chain problems. But we're trying to bring more things in house, but also keep the company small.
Right, I get that.
We just acquired a fiber optic laser cutting machine, and for our weldable gate boxes. So what that's going to do is allow us to do a lot more SKUs and cut our physical inventory down, but actually have more SKUs.
Right.
So
right.
We're kind of excited about that machine.
Well, yeah.
And
Well, we definitely
we'll be able to do a lot of other things with it as well. So
Great.
So we try to keep innovating. It's
a fast-paced world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And business is just different now. Like before, you'd pay, invest in the patents, protect that product for 20 years. Now, once you put it out, it's first to market. Somebody's going to knock it off.
Yeah.
You're going to see it all over the place from China and everything else. So
yeah, we're getting hit all over on that kind of thing. The lever opening tool is also being knocked off by several people.
Yeah, it's a shame, but you just got to innovate and keep moving forward and keep coming up with new products, and that is great. I'm going to put one more link in here for everybody that is in this meeting. This is our special first Monday of the month. So this is our first meeting. This is the interview with George Hill from Keedex. And then the second one is going to be the Locksmiths United meeting. It's going to be right directly after this. As a matter of fact, it starts right at 5 o'clock. It's going to start in about 6 minutes. So we're going to wrap up here with George. George, thank you so much. You've
Hey, no
been
problem.
an amazing guest. Thank you. And you're just a wealth of knowledge. We really appreciate you being here. So
just want to mention, I will be going to Aloha. I will be helping Harry Shear's class on manipulation. So I'll be there. I don't have a booth this year, but I will be at the MBA booth, showing off some of our safe products. So come on by and say hi.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll be there. We'll stop by. I'm sure we'll chat. We might do a little video. We might do something over there with you. It's always exciting to see your products, and I love featuring them. And I really just like working with them. I can tell you put a lot of time, effort, and energy into it, and you're a company that operates with a lot of integrity, and we just really appreciate that.
And I appreciate your platform. It's great. It's what the industry needs, and you're doing a great job at it.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We're glad to work with you, and we're glad to have you here. Again, I posted that link up. If everybody wants to copy that link, that's going to be the link to the next meeting. So while this meeting is still being hosted for the next little bit here, grab that real quick, and then we'll move on to the next one. As far as that goes, thank you, everybody. Thank you to the audience for joining. You're the ones that make this actually successful, and I hope you guys are actually getting some information and some knowledge out of this. I hope it's beneficial to you, and it's worth your time to come here and join us today. And again, George, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you more often and seeing more of your tools come out. Thank you so much.
Take care. Thanks.
All righty. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. Grab that link up real quick, copy and paste it, register for that other Zoom meeting, and we will see you guys shortly. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.